Welcome to the Sidebar, a book club for God's Chosen. I'm David.
I'm Gabe, McDougall's strongest soldier.
And I'm Capitalissimo, recording live from my Orgooner energy accumulator.
And no, folks, that's not Jankum. And today we're all back together again to discuss God is a Killer by Max Thrax and published by Apocalypse Confidential. So Apocalypse Confidential, for anyone not familiar, kind of a alt literature publishing house. They do a lot of short story contests on their site. That's how God is a Killer came into my awareness. I don't know if you guys know anything about them besides that.
About AppCon or Max Thrax?
AppCon itself, but yeah, and Mac.
So Max Thrax is, obviously a Caesar. You know, he started life as a gladiator and then became the emperor of Rome. And so I don't know when he wrote this or when it was translated from Latin, but it's got a very different style from any other books we've covered. So I would probably say that it's, has something to do with that sort of heritage.
Yeah, it reminds me of Satyricon, the lost Satyricon
You can really feel
episode.
the Latin heritage.
Oh yeah, the fragments of Satyricon. This is what was missing, obviously, right? It's amazing that so much of it survived.
Yeah, I'm glad that, there was a lot of early Christian converts. I'm glad, what was his name? Petronius. I'm glad Petronius was secretly a based fucking Branch Dravidian the whole time.
Okay, it's Branch Dravidian. Dravidians are South Indians, and they're very relevant if you want to stand the Indo-Aryan invasion and get really specific in your HBD
or get really
lore.
bleached in their case.
Listen, I was thinking of the Netflix adaptation when they made them all.
Oh, right, yeah.
But yeah, and Max himself, I actually don't know as much about him. So yeah, I just know him as the founder of AppCon. I believe he does a podcast of some kind that I've not listened to. But regardless, we picked up his book, is a novella to be specific, God is a Killer. And this is the Alpha edition that we all have, which has 3 additional unrelated sort of flash fiction stories at the end of it. And so I guess before we dive into the meat of it, let's just do generalities, spoiler free, as is our tradition here, as much as possible. Initial, I guess, thoughts on God is a Killer that for someone that maybe is considering picking it up that you guys would have?
Cap, you go first on this.
Yeah, so it is a extremely fast-paced story about crime in a small New Hampshire town. It touches on the aftermath of a cult leader's release from prison, development politics for a woman who's trying to sell her stakes in the town and get out, and the sort of crooked sheriff and the meth and other substance abuse scene in this small town.
It's very Hell on Wheels. It's very like those TV shows. Yeah, it's very network TV in terms of plot. Very
action heavy. It's not a style of book that I've actually read a lot of before, and so some of my thoughts about it may be colored by that. But yeah, I would agree. I think your extreme fast-paced comment jumps out as me. Cap is my main thought, and it was a bit of a challenge for me early on and towards the end, but I actually got into the groove of it for a lot of it, and overall enjoyed it quite a bit. But I think we'll get into it more later. I had a couple comments on, well, I guess writing style wise, yeah, very dialogue heavy, action heavy, pretty tasty descriptions actually. Well, tasty in the way everything is like uniformly hideous and like filthy and everyone's a drug addicted sociopath.
Yeah.
Everyone literally is a sociopath.
Well, I disagree categorically that everyone's a sociopath.
Well, yeah, Sarah is a super psychosexual abuser. So I guess she's an exception from being a straight sociopath.
No, man.
You know what? No.
Fitzroy's a good guy.
He gives his own mother heroin. What you talking
He
about?
made Sarah suck his dick.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Well, that's two spoilers. But number one, she needed money and had nothing else to pay with.
Libertarian.
Number two, so he's. Yeah. Well, I do come from the lower right at one point, and
Yes, this is Miesian economics.
yeah. Hey, look, it's human action.
The praxeology of the pussy.
And when he gave his mother heroin, it's because she was already addicted to prescription painkillers, and his shitty junkie brother already broke in and stole all of those.
So you had no choice. Just gotta shoot your mom up with heroin.
Well, what is the difference between prescription painkillers and like black tar heroin?
Yeah.
There's no moral difference there. There is no moral
it's a
difference
purely
there.
academic distinction.
There may be a health difference. There might be a little bit of a health difference.
She's already like full on dementia. Like if you are in that state, you should just be able to do heroin. Like legally. It shouldn't even be a crime at that point.
I do not want Cap to be the guy in the hospital room with me at any point if I'm like failing.
David, if you walked into the hospital, I would immediately ask if you would consent to euthanasia, and it is completely regardless of whatever the health condition was. If you could be walking into the hospital to ask for directions, and I would refer you to euthanasia.
That's the first sign. You have you had that stereotypical nurse actor on like a placard. It's like, have you considered euthanasia?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, here's the number for the suicide hotline.
Very Canadian of you. We're getting way into spoilers already.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. That's the wrong one. That was the suicide hotline with instructions. You wanted the suicide prevention hotline. The other one.
We'll go through the story the way that makes more sense because we just started throwing out insane spoilers there. So sorry to everyone that didn't want to hear that. I had one bitching comment about the formatting of the book, and let me know if am I off base here, guys? Am I the jerk?
No, it's the children who are wrong.
The gutter seems a little wrong, and having just formatted my new novella Improvidence out now, by the time this comes out, I just noticed the gutter is very tight in the middle of the book. Like I bought the physical. I think there's a digital out now, which I think I would recommend people get. But it was kind of a little bit of a constant minor annoyance. That was my only comment on the book itself as a product.
I do see what you mean, but I do see what you mean, but it did not bother me when I was reading it. Overall, it is like, it's a KDP book. So
yeah,
what are you going to do?
It's well formatted. Besides that,
Really?
and I'd agree, it was a minor irritation, but I just wanted to call it out as maybe if someone on their side listens to this, they'll be aware.
Also, I will say that the cover design on this is Kino is all hell. It is. I
like the cover?
love it.
I do not like.
Yeah,
it looks very. It's like it's supposed to be like a spy thriller. I don't know. There's like 3 guns pointing it upside down cross.
I actually don't like the little hands. The hands take me out of it.
Do you need an explanation for literally every aspect of the design?
It's their look,
No, it's a great look.
I know rule of cool, right? But like, this doesn't look particularly cool to me. This looks like a Nike or like a Skechers fucking.
Wait,
commercial.
are you saying that Nike doesn't look cool to you?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying it makes me want to buy a shoe.
Well, AppCon, you have the branding. You have the branding already done. Make some shoes.
What will you wear during the apocalypse?
I will. I will also say that I do like, as far as AppCon goes, I like that they have all of their books numbered. They have the AppCon triangle logo, and then they have the number of the book that is that was released. And God is a Killer Alpha is 4. four of four currently. They have a couple more coming out this year, but it's also unfortunately book number 1, The Book of by Frank Peake, and book 2, Pale Townie by our friend Tom Will,
friend of the show.
Good friend.
Do not have their titles or the author's name on the spine, and that drives me up a fucking wall. They're not alone.
Choice.
They are not alone in that, but it drives me up the wall. I know it could be a stylistic choice. It makes me feel insane. So, the book number 3, Incurable Graphomania by
I still
Anna,
want to read that. I need to.
Yeah, Krivolapova is. I have read several of the stories in that book. I have not completely read it, but I did enjoy them.
Yeah,
and in the future we may cover it or another.
I think so.
Another collection by her. I would feel happy doing that. So,
we got to appeal to the female audience.
yeah, all one of
female
them.
demographic.
All statistically one of them. So let's dig in to.
Do you want to take a first stab at it, Cap? You want to talk about part 1, the Let There Be Light? I don't even know what we're going to call this portion. Just the beginning.
The opening.
Yeah, it doesn't have a
head.
traditional. It does not have a traditional 3-act structure. It's kind of a bunch of interwoven narratives that all kind of come to a head.
It's Sanderson-esque, actually, in the opening.
Absolutely, go fuck yourself.
Because those that have read, what's Sanderson's big series? Stormlight Archive.
The Way of
Oh
God.
my God.
If you read Stormlight Archive, which I've only read the first 3 chapters and I dropped it,
I'm going to give you some down dudes for this.
Because it has 2 openings for people that die, the 2 false start character openings. Anyway, which is nothing wrong with that. I found that a little annoying.
Well, the whole book is a false start. Let's be honest, right?
All right, Gabe, settle down.
Down boy. We have our very own Timmy in the room.
Timmy.
He needs to go.
Hey.
He needs to go to the Oregon box to calm the fuck down.
I need to get high before this shit, man.
The first starting is Touchdown, right? The
Terry Touchdown Donovan.
Yeah, what is he? He's a meth addict, I think, specifically.
He's a meth cook.
And he just murdered someone, and then he meets McDougal. McDougal comes up to him and starts lecturing him, and McDougal is going to be one of our main 2 or 3 characters. McDougal is this sort of thin, I think he's redheaded, ginger boy, middle-aged, slightly older guy who just got out of jail. And he starts talking about God and ranting about the Lord. And then as he's doing this, he's distracting poor Touchdown. The skinhead dude comes out from behind, and he's stolen his money. He's got his gun, Touchdown's gun, and they kill our boy Touchdown.
Yep. Honestly, I wish that Terry Touchdown had lasted a little longer, just because I really like saying the nickname.
Yeah.
Terry Touchdown.
Yeah. So basically, this meth cook and user is living rough, sort of camping, but not in a recreational sense, with some money and a couple mismatched guns, and he's because the lab that he was working in sort of got flipped, right? So he and the other 2 cooks, one of them died, and the other is missing, or it's where Touchdown doesn't know, and so he is ambushed by McDougal and McDougal's skin-headed companion.
And technically, this is chronologically out of order, because we see Touchdown actually later on.
Well, there is one flashback in the story where it talks about how the meth lab got taken down, but overall the story is in chronological order. Yeah.
Right, I know. I was saying the opening, the false opening, is technically unchronological.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then following that, I actually don't recall exactly what happens, but the skinhead guy, doesn't he twist his leg or something like that? And then
No, it's the most loony. It's the most Looney Tune thing possible. They're hunting, I think, a raccoon. He sends the skinhead to go chase the raccoon, and he's like, "Don't fall now!" And the guy, of course, falls off.
Yeah, he falls down a steep embankment, breaks compound fractures his leg, and McDougal says, "Walk, take up thy pallet." Right now, in the foothills, the morning breeze felt cool and pleasant. The Sagmo River ran slowly out to the ocean. A blue jay swooped low between the birch trees, warbled its song into the wilderness. "Minute to pray," said McDougal. He went to the river and looked up at the cliffs. From the rushes, he heard Brewster moan. He ignored his petitions. True, McDougal told himself. Brewster was dying. And then he puts him down like a horse.
Yep.
Right. He puts him down like a horse. Brewster begs for a doctor. McDougal says, "There are no doctors for the faithful," and yeah.
Down he goes.
And he wants to use his prayer powers to
Brewster says, Brewster is reciting this litany. McDougal removed his clothes. He reached into his back pocket, checked the revolver. "You stopped," Brewster said. "We got to keep praying. Put your fingers on my leg. You got to heal." The cylinder held 2 bullets. McDougal wiped his nose and pressed the muzzle against Brewster's forehead. So, yeah, he just puts him down. So McDougal is this insane, this insane guy who thinks he's a prophet. And he hears the words of an Elena in his mind.
He's down bad for his ex, basically.
Yeah, well, you find out later that Elena was his lover who
his one-itis.
Yep.
And the problems with McDouglas kind of start
McDougal?
here.
No, let him go.
McDougal.
Let him cook.
McDougal. All right, because he starts out with the Mormon line. Have you heard of our Savior, Jesus Christ? He opens up the zipper of the camp. And he's very much, like, the way he speaks is very much a redder atheist version of, like, a cult leader. You know, like, he was like, did King David, show mercy? No, he slaughtered, he always brackets the sermons. He's like, he'll do an action, right, and then he'll pause for a second, and then he'll go on a rant about King Damon, or call his knife Jeremiah, and it just go on this over corny-ass rant. It's fucking, what was it called, right, Holy Hunt. This fucking sergeant was more natural than this guy. I found it supremely corny. Like, he would just bust out a Bible verse whenever he needs to make him look, ooh, he's crazy. Or like, ooh, look, he's like a cult leader. But he won't actually do anything with it. Like, we don't know any of his relation with God, how he became this way, how he converted, really. It's just he needs him to sound crazy or intimidating. And so he has him spout out these lines once in a while.
You don't feel like he's merely using this. I mean, like, he clearly believes in something, but he's also just using that language as a means to an end. Like, he's using it to actively manipulate people.
Right, but the thing is, we don't have enough of his inside dialogue. Is he just using it as a tool? Was it initially a tool that he started believing in? Because later on, and in certain events, it is clear that he does experience some psycho or some phenomenon within his mind in regards to his beliefs. And so, since we don't have the knowledge, we don't have any interior knowledge.
It's an interesting point, yeah, because we're at an awkward distance, because we have this basically more like an omniscient third point of view. So it's not like, yeah, you're right, we don't get that tight interpretation of events through his lens very strongly. And for a character that is this out there, it's like a challenge to. You're not supposed to empathize with him. Like, he shouldn't have right off the bat, like, just murdering a dude for no reason. But at the same time, yeah, his lectures they mostly worked for me in terms of, to Cap's point, his self-justifying his behavior or trying to convince people. But I think I think you make a very good point, Gabe, that it's not as biblically informative or like motivationally
No, for sure.
informative as it could be, right? Like it is a little bit generic, ranting fanatic, and it's like, and I have to admit, I started to skim at a certain point when he really started to have these long rants. I'd be like, I get the gist, but like there wasn't a lot of meat in the rants.
It's very Criminal Minds. It's very like cable television, like when like SVU unit, whatever the fuck. Like, oh, we need a cult killer, right? It's this skim with the Bible for something that sounds ominous or scary, and just have him say it, right? It's very freak of the week.
I do not think that it is. I don't think it's that low brow at all. I think that what I mean. I think that the overall vibe here is more. I mean, like this would be a good adaptation into a film. Mm-hmm. Like this would be I mean, like, I don't know. I think we were talking with it was with ARX Han a while like last week about things that ought to be adapted for film, and what properties from our guys would be good for that. This would be a killer adaptation, mm-hmm. right? Because you have
it feels like it's
this.
written for TV.
Again, I don't think it's television level. I think you're being overly harsh there.
It's like Jack Reacher tier. I could see a Jack Reacher episode.
I mean, I could see this being like a film. The New Hampshire setting. You have this like beautiful old house that we're going to be the Causeway mansion that we're going to be introduced to in the next scene. You have these multiple wooded settings, a couple like this cast of characters with like who die very easily. Like their lives are worthless in virtually every instance. So
yeah, there's a lot of killing.
Yeah. God is a killer. We're on page 3 now, so let's talk about it a little bit. The next one, to your point, Cap, onto the Causeway, we meet Sarah and Timmy, and this is actually like a really brief flash chapter where we just see that it's a mother and her son. I actually wasn't even sure how old he was here in this chapter initially, but it's either revealed here and I missed it, or it comes up later that he's at 18.
Yeah.
And not her son.
A adopted, basically. I mean, she's definitely a mother figure to him.
Yeah.
And she is raising him, but he's technically not her son.
Yeah, she got alpha widowed.
I don't think we know that they were part of a cult yet, but that is the background. And they live at this old house, and if I remember right, they have the party in this one where
no,
is that later chapter?
Yeah,
it's later.
It's a hotel.
Yeah, so it's this old house that was built as a mansion that she's doing like these sort of event style B&B things, right? So when guests come, she has events for that. She has like stuff for them to do, like, oh, you're going to go on a hike and here's your route, and et cetera, and you'll be back at this time and we'll have food ready or what have you. But she wants to sell it because this house is on an estate. It's on like this 100-acre mountain essentially that's known as Loon Hill. 2,000 feet over Bentham County, Loon Hill. So she's got this 100-acre mountain that this house is on that she wants to sell, but there are like historic preservation issues because there's a 300-year-old cemetery on it or something, and the locals do not want it to sell. So she is very motivated to get out of this place and get out of this rural New Hampshire community. She wants to leave, And we don't know that McDougal is the reason yet, but that is why. And so she has this conversation with a very robotic guy named John Rockford, who lands in a literal helicopter outside of the house to menace her about why she hasn't been able to deliver clear title on this property.
And he represents Mr. Locust.
Yeah, and Isaac Locust is an on the nose name there, right there. So one of the things that is causing a commotion here is the Nash family. This is some townies who really fucking hate her, and will constantly be
flinging shit and bricks and dead animals.
Will constantly be harassing her. Yeah, throughout this whole thing, and being an overall nuisance. So yeah. After that, we are introduced to Sheriff Fitzroy, who is the archetypal sheriff. I think he's. I mean, yeah. Obviously, he's morally gray here.
He's an entrepreneur.
So he's a crooked-ish sheriff.
He's full crooked, dude. He's got a deal.
He's crooked.
The meth den basically is like reporting up to him, and he has a deal with the local biker gang that distributes. And so in our introduction to Fitzroy, we see him going and meeting Touchdown, and I forget the other guy, Dog Boy.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
and
what's the other guy?
Dan, I think.
I think it was.
No, there's three of them.
There was a third. I think he died already or something when he showed up. but
oh yeah, Fitzroy shot one of them.
I think he convinced him to shoot the one. So basically, he shows up. He starts yelling at them. They're not getting him enough money, and then he has the one shoot the other, and then what's his name? Dog Boy survives and runs off, and that becomes a plot point to follow on later. So we see him doing that deal, and then also early on, I'm just trying to move us ahead a little bit. Early on, we see him visit with the Stone Men, who are this biker gang who will be important later. So
they do some of his dirty work, but they're also, and this is it's revealed later that they have a feud going with the Zapians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it is revealed that the Stone Men are actually, as biker gangs go, very small time and not actually that hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
And the Zapians are 1%er, an absolute nightmare. So the Stone Men were the best of the bikers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A few noblemen.
And good guy Fitzroy sees they have I don't know if they know he's a DEA agent, but he sees that they have some kind of law enforcement guy trapped in a drawer. They're torturing with a taser to try and get information out of. And
it was that a guy had been found killed,
mm-hmm.
and they had just recruited this young guy. So someone found a corpse. Fitzroy basically handles everything off the books, as it is said later. He hasn't had a single arrest all year because he handles literally everything off the books. Does not go through the courts. Absolutely Nayib Bukele's every single problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he had tracked down this where this body came from. The Stone Men say, yeah, it was one of our new prospects who did it. Fitzroy says, fucking take care of him. And they are yeah, we think he's a mole, and they're torturing him to get information.
And then also early on we get, and let's just round out the introductions, and then I just want to maybe kind of dwell on the intros. We meet, Fitzroy's mother and brother. And basically, it was revealed that Fitzroy's mother has serious dementia, and the brother is a piece of shit like everyone in this town and is stealing drugs from his mother.
Total junkie shithead.
He like hides a pill under his lips, trying to sneak him out. And then we also meet the deputy who does like freelance work for Fitzroy. Cherubini? Is that the deputy?
Chernubi.
That's not right.
It's like BBI, right?
It's Cherubini.
Something
Yeah.
I.
Cherubini. Okay.
Cherubini.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying.
Yeah. You let your WAP ancestry carry you.
Hey, why you making fun of Luigi?
Hey.
He making you the pizza.
I think that covers all the major introductions, and that's actually one of my like I said, overall I like this book, but the introduction I found so overwhelming at a certain point here, because you're introduced to, you have the 2 false starts, and it's just so many characters and ideas at once, and you're not sure who is the key players. You basically now, a little later you figure out pretty quickly, okay, Fitzroy, McDougal, and Sarah, like those are really like, that's what the story's about. But for each of these introductions, the Stone Men, there's like 3 or 4 named Stone Men. The meth dealers or the meth cooks that all die, like, it was like there's 3 of them. It's such a volume. Yep. I just found it very overwhelming, and there was definitely reading through. I was like, wait a minute, like who is double tap? Like who the fuck is that? That's a guy's name. He said something.
You mean Two Stroke?
Two Stroke. That's it. Yeah. That's what they call me.
Yeah. I remembered.
Well, you forgot to mention Mr. No Stroke, Philippe.
Yes,
Frenchman.
yeah. Well, Quebecois, and his 2 brothers,
and his 2 cousins. Don't forget the 2 cousins.
Cousins. That's right.
Do you remember their names? Yoa.
That
sounds right.
Yeah. Yaon. I don't know how to pronounce that type of name.
I've never seen a French name like that.
I mean, maybe it's John. It's probably just a fucked up version of John.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's
French.
like Johann?
Yeah.
Maybe Johann.
Well, I mean, like, the last chapter. Les yeux bleus. Sarah and her green bib pants and gloves. Welcome aboard the German
go back
tourists.
to the homeland.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, Philip is... I don't know how he met... Yeah, again, it starts in medio res. Yeah, Philippe. Like, we start off just right off the gate. Like, this is like, you're starting a show in the middle. Like, you're watching a filler episode, right? It's not a pilot, it's not an introduction, right? So, we meet Fitzroy. He just came back from Vegas. He's already well versed into his drug trade. Sarah has been having this place for a little bit. Jimmy, who reads...
Wait, did you just... What, did you just say that Philippe is in the drug trade?
No, Fitz. I said Fitz.
Oh, yeah, Fitzroy. Okay, yeah.
No, Philip is in the cuck trade. That's what he is, right?
So true.
Yeah. Okay.
If we're all interpreting that one scene,
he's cutting
to
the
be
wood as a
correct with
carpenter.
Fitzroy.
She's getting the wood.
So they have. So Philippe and Sarah have a.
No, he makes his own cuck chair. That's what he
Philippe
does.
and Sarah have a casual romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And it's close enough that they have a birthday party that Philippe's birthday party is at the Causeway House. And they get pretty drunk, and let's see.
The cousin smokes cigarettes inside. That becomes a recurring thing that she just keeps bitching about. As Sarah is the villain. I'm just going to show my hand right now. Like, she is a villain in the story.
She is.
She fucks up Timmy. She fucks up, she blue
do you
balls
think she made
Google.
Timmy retarded?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Ah.
She longhouses him. She longhouses him because of the fishing. He wants to fish. And that's a scene that I thought he was like 9 or something, because she's like, "Oh no, you can't fish by yourself."
Well, he can't fish by
he's
himself
fishing in the
because he
rain.
goes fishing in the rain and stands on a rock in the middle of a river and because he's fucking retarded. But
Yeah, and he falls.
there's no way there's no way that she could have longhoused him so hard that he had the mind of a 9-year-old. At 18, there's no way. Yes, he was a simple soul. I don't know if he had a fever, he got knocked on the head one too many times, but yeah, Timmy's slow. So,
well, at least because he was denied his purpose. When you're raised in a religion like that, it's kind of like it's like the Taliban warriors in Afghanistan. Once
you
they
mean based?
settled in, once they conquered America. Yes, no, they were based, but then they had to work like desk jobs and live at normie lives after kicking out the devil Americans, and are miserable now. They've been longhoused by basically the neoliberal regime.
I have no idea where you're coming from on this.
No, because he was like a warrior for, I forget what it was called. They call it the family. Or
the Eternal Nation.
The nation.
Yeah.
Yes, because he had a purpose. He's been shooting guns since he was 8. He had a purpose. He had a divine code of honor, right? And then modernity crashed in and stole that from him.
Yeah, he could have been a eunuch guard for King MacDougal.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, he was ordered to castrate himself by that order.
Listen, he regrets that, but
as a 9-year-old, he was ordered to castrate himself.
It's better to do it young than when you're older because your body adapts.
Yeah, I guess if you never know what you're missing, but still.
Yeah, the Turks.
Still, I don't know if I follow your framing here that MacDougal did nothing wrong.
The second candle. No, MacDougal calls him his second candle, right? He trains him. He tries to have
because he needs a goon because he keeps putting down his lackeys like lame horses.
None of his lackeys last long. Like that's going to be a recurring theme. They all die horribly or get just beaten to shit instantly after they sign up.
Well, that's a rationalist outview of the situation. We'll get to that.
But anyway, I just want to point that out. We've done basically, we'll count that as part 1, like all the intros of all these people. And I guess, I just want to call that out as I was so fucking overwhelmed. Also, the speed of the writing, as we mentioned earlier, it's very fast. And in certain parts, it was more overwhelming. Particularly just with this many characters flying around.
Extremely fast. And something serious will happen. And how the characters react is just so bizarre. Like the scene where I talk about like Timmy like literally nearly falling to his death, and she screams, but we don't get any like emotion. There's no meat to it. Like, oh, she gets him out the water, and then they go to bed.
Well, she seems incredibly like Sarah acts.
With it.
No, Era is
because he talks about because he wants an animal.
Sarah acts incredibly overwhelmed all the time. Like she is always on edge, and because what she wants is
that's not all female characters. What?
There's only 2 female characters. There's 3 female characters in this book. Wait, no, sorry, 4. So there's Sarah von Brommel, and there is. What? Yeah, there's Mama Fitzroy.
Oh,
there's Deputy Thompson, and then there's
Dog Boys.
That whore K.
Yeah, the whore K.
So,
very accurate depiction, and all these women are horrible characters for the most
and I guess
part.
you could also maybe say Elena is a female.
Oh yeah. She's she's probably the closest. Like she's MacDougal's Beatrice.
Yeah,
kind of.
She's the hallucinatory. Actually, what's funny is that when Elena is saying things, it actually tends to be like not the worst advice.
Well, she second guesses him a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. She's like, it's like, oh, maybe you shouldn't, do whatever. Extreme thing you've recently done. So I mean, if honestly, if you want to talk about longhousing, MacDougal has completely internalized that.
He's spiritually longhoused.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the middle. And it's just there's so much shit that happens here. I'm trying to think how we can try not to, because we just can't do a blow by blow of every. Someone steals a car, someone takes drugs.
Well, well, I have a relative idea of how to do it. So the inciting... Listen, no, I got this. All right, the inciting incident is this. All right, so Sarah, she has a party for her cuck boyfriend, Philippe, and her brothers. Rocks get thrown by the Hash family, who are jealous about this Flatlander, this townie, this Yankee, trying to sell the house to this corporation. A fight ensues. Fitzroy leaves. As he's doing that, McDougal buys a pink Jeep from his old
steals
friend.
it.
Yeah, he definitely steals
Oh,
it.
He says he'll pay him, and then he just points the gun at him, and he says like, "Nah, I'm just taking it."
Well, he pays him with his life. It's still a transaction.
Yes, obviously that's how that works, Gabe.
Well, yeah, Rick gets a new outlook on life. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard medicine.
Yes.
It's hard medicine. Then, as this has happened, McDougal meets a bunch of people underneath a bridge, a bunch of drunk homeless people, and he tries to do a charisma roll.
Yeah, the bridgeman.
The bridgeman.
Imagine as a charisma roll is fucking hilarious. Yeah, because it's just like 8 giant fat guys. Well, it's some scrawny ones, just like literally just chugging Popov tier vodka.
And Cossacks.
Cossacks. Better than Cossacks. Better than Cossacks.
Yeah, like they're mentally retarded because like they keep on. They're like
they're
goons,
shithead. They're shithoused all the time. They're homeless guys who just score booze. That's
yeah, pretty much.
And dude, it's so funny because McDougal tries to do his whole routine. He's like, "Oh, I can turn wine into blood or water into blood," and like they just don't buy any of this shit. He's like, "Next time, bring vodka. Next time, you fucking weirdo."
Yeah.
And that's a key point for later. Then, after that, Fitzroy, I believe, goes to visit his mother. And that's when we get the Fitzpatrick thing. Or, no, it's not Fitzpatrick. Regular Patrick. Patrick, he's, I'm clean, bro. And then, he twists his ankle, reveals, he shoves his finger in his mouth, and he finds pills inside his gums.
Yep.
And then he arrests him and throws him to get sober into the jail cell.
He beats the shit out of him and throws him in the jail cell.
Yeah, he does. And the mother is completely oblivious to everything. She's completely mentally out.
Well,
basically.
Yeah, because she has severe dementia. Like she thinks that Fitzroy's dad is still alive and things like that.
Yes, that's a running joke. Not only that,
joke is a weird way to say that, but all right.
Yes! No, because remember she talks about I was on Jeopardy. I was on to make a deal in Los Angeles in 1979, and I cheated on your father with Stephanie's friend.
Which was Fitzroy's ex-wife. Yeah.
Yeah. It was fantastic. It was great. That was a good comedic scene.
Yeah.
So as this is happening, and then it mostly focuses away from Fitzroy after that. Then we go back to McDougal. And McDougal then finally visits Sarah. And Sarah takes it very oddly calmly. Basically. He drops a couple $100 bills inside a potted plant. And he goes and meets Timmy. And Timmy's happy to see him again. Because Timmy just told Sarah, I wish you were dead.
He finds Timmy in his Orgooner energy box.
We gotta talk about the Orgooner, bro.
We gotta talk about the Orgooner energy box.
The Orgooner.
Do you guys know what Orgooner was? Did you?
Absolutely, I do. Yes, okay. Of course I do. Look it up. Dr. Wilhelm Reich hypothesized that Orgooner energy was essentially this motivating life force of the universe. Essentially, Goon is life.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if edging was the core motivating factor in the entire universe.
That was no November. That was a true November.
Yeah, Wilhelm Reich was literally God's strongest gooner. This dude has never been beat. And he built these things called Orgooner energy collectors, which it describes how to build one in here, and it's essentially you have these alternating
synthetic and natural parts.
It's
right?
it's alternating conductive materials. So there's alternating wool and steel wool in 7 layers, and it has to be like a hardwood box. It has to be like oak or something like that. And it's essentially like an outhouse without a hole that you just like sit in, and the energy collects. There's also this like device that you can point at your face or whatever to really concentrate the energy. Just
Yeah, it's through the nose, right? I think Timmy says during Timmy's scene,
basically,
he
he
does it through the
shot him right
nostrils.
shot himself right in the face. Comes up again later. And
Well, the virgin god killer teaches you how to make an orgon chamber. The base Chad punishing teaches you how to make a pipe bomb.
right.
Will it actually make you trip balls or something? Because I
Absolutely will do
anything.
nothing. It does not
'cause it's just
do
air,
anything.
But he seems like he gets high off it. That's why I seriously thought this was jankum
he's
when I first
having
read it.
yeah.
I was like, is this just like a shit pile? And he's like huffing the poo poo, sniff the poo poo.
No. It's literally just a phone booth that you sit in.
Yeah.
And
That's
like
why I saw on
you
Wikipedia.
can you can build your own. Yeah, it does. It's not a box that gets you high. It's a box that placebos you. At best,
It does more than that. It gets you spiritually high.
Yeah.
It gives you a spiritual.
It's not
like
even
prayer
as
or like
not
yoga.
even as effective as sensory deprivation chamber. But I mean, if you need a quiet place to just sit and be naked, then I guess an Orgone energy collector would be a fine spot for it. So,
yeah, God is an Orgooner.
So Timmy
Episode
has
title.
Timmy has been chilling in the box, and he falls asleep. And
Naked.
obviously you're naked in the Orgone energy box, because how else is the energy going to get into you?
So true.
It's also very funny. Also, at Philippe's birthday party, Timmy and Fitzroy are talking about this, and Timmy mentions to Fitzroy that he does his Orgone energy chamber twice a day, and Fitzroy's like, "Yeah, good job."
And he gives him a scotch.
Here,
too,
have some
by the way. He's
scotch.
like, here, drink this.
So, anyway,
I think the next big happening I think it's the raid on the Stone Men, because McDougal he's like getting his ducks in a row for like, the Judgment Day essentially, and he's like, okay, I need explosives and weapons, and so he's like, who has that? And I think it might be the guy he steals the car from, or someone else mentions the Stone Men would be the place to hit. So he just basically just sneaks in. A guy, speaking of gooning, a guy is jerking off to his laptop, or he's washing his hands after jerking off, and then he just shoots him in the fucking knee.
He's like, have you been watching this pornography? And he's like, yeah, who doesn't? I don't. I don't. Fuck you.
That was a baseline. He is the true cell enforcer, because literally afterwards he shoots him in the balls, and he literally calls him one ball.
Oh, yeah.
One ball man.
That was a great touch.
The way that, and I'm pretty sure that you get that McDougal is the only one from whose perspective you get things like the Bridgeman or One Ball Man or Army Coat Guy, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the only real flavor you get is with McDougal.
Yeah, you get all of that from McDougal's perspective.
Yeah, you're right. It slips in like a third limited with McDougal, but with everyone else is it's like more detached. Like you don't really see what
Extremely
Sarah
detached.
or Fitzroy are thinking.
So,
And there's some scenes that are reminiscent of Punishing for me, like the weird distance,
really?
like the characters have, and especially with certain violence.
well, so
Is that
no,
the thing?
so
Like when,
so McDougal goes absolutely sick house in the Stone Men's in the biker clubhouse, because
yeah, very video gaming.
Oh yeah, it's like
yeah.
a Max Payne scene. Like he gets the weapon chest, and then they return. And it's like, all right, dude, I played Counter-Strike. I know how this works. And it's just a madhouse. Like it's just like what is it? He's like getting run through. Someone like grabs him in the leg, and he just like kicks him off and shoots him, and just Yeah, he kills like 90% of the stone men. I think
And
it's
then
called stragglers.
and then burns it down because all of the leadership were all of the leadership was up in Canada buying or selling drugs. They were transacting something. Mm-hmm. The leader being the guys like Two Stroke and Spoonie. So
Spoonie.
And Spoonie has a portrait in the club. I thought this was a nice touch. There's a portrait of Spoonie, who's the leader of the Stone Men, in the clubhouse that has like an engraving on the bottom that says "None harder."
Dude, I was looking for that quote.
Spoonie's favorite method of punishing someone is anal struggle cuddles.
Yeah.
And the way that he describes it, every single time Spoonie gets a line, it's describing a different way to blow out someone's O-ring. Like it's like I will feel like later on when Spoonie returns to find the Stone Men's hideout destroyed, he says that and confronts Fitzroy about it. Fitzroy informs him it was McDougal, and Spoonie says that he'll be satisfied when he sees the guy when he sees McDougal prolapse. So,
Yeah.
So when it says none harder,
he meant it quite
yeah,
literally.
yeah. It's a double entender. Anyway, following that.
Oh, real quick, there's a scene in there, by the way, where he gets shot in the chest,
Shot in the shoulder.
but the barrel.
Yeah.
Oh no! Remember, because he had a
Oh,
gun,
right.
he had a barrel
Yeah,
of
yeah.
a gun.
This is then. Yeah, he gets shot.
Is that possible?
He gets shot in the
It's a
chest,
glance,
and
I guess.
he got. What do you mean? He gets shot in the chest, and he had his and he had a revolver he had stolen from Touchdown at the beginning of the story. Mm-hmm. He had that revolver empty of bullets sitting in his front pocket, so his gun got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the bullet hit directly on the barrel.
No.
Apparently, because it said the barrel.
No, it
got
said
bent.
that the frame was bent, so it just got hit
Oh, I
somewhere
thought it was the
along
barrel.
yeah.
Yeah, and like he survives multiple times. It's like Michael Myers basically. He gets his face slashed. Like McDougal does not go down at all throughout the entire story. He's got plot armor.
He's got Yeah, I mean he's a killing machine, right? Like who survives a shootout with 10 guys? No one.
He's willing to
20 guys.
draw
20
blood
guys is who survives that. It's 20 guys, by the way.
Well, with Spoonie, you had to specify what kind.
Nice.
So true. I think that's basically the middle arc of him. I think with Fitzroy, we might have skipped a few things. So basically, McDougal's ready now for the end game. But Fitzroy, we mentioned before, he visits the whore Kay, or whatever we're going to call her, that bitch Kay, who is housing
Dog Boy.
Dog Boy. So she's housing Dog Boy. And when Fitzroy shows up, there's like the decrepit, pathetic little kid who's got the crackhead mom, leads him in, and Dog Boy's already dead. He overdosed, and he's like, okay, guess that's the end of that. Gives the kid $20 and takes off. And then I guess other major Fitzroy things, he asks.
No, he shits on them too. It's like you got impregnated by that.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, he's like,
move.
you had you impregnated that. He's like, you have a kid with her.
Yeah, to his henchman. What's his name? Deputy Chibupi.
Lefebvre.
Yeah.
Lefebvre.
And then he asked the deputy to introduce him to a mercenary.
And it's not a deputy, it's a bounty hunter.
Okay.
Like he's
freelance.
basically a fence. He's like an underworld contact. So he's like, you need to. He's like, I need someone to take care of McDougal because Sarah called Fitzroy frantic, saying she needed to get rid of this guy. And And so Fitzroy's like, all right, get me a fucking hitman. He gets.
So he got a ginger hitman.
Yeah, he gets this. He gets this guy. He gets this, old army vet, and he sells this guy as being, an a guy from the old school who will just do the job and go the fuck home, right? So this guy gets built up a little. Fitzroy then meets him a little bit later. Is satisfied. Guy goes out to do it. Immediately gets copped by McDougal and killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was one of those character economy things where I was like, with the so many introductions at the beginning, I was like, what was the point of that dude? Like, couldn't we have just had one of the people working for Fitzroy already?
No, that's how McDougal figures out about Fitzroy, because Fitzroy gives him the knife that Fitzroy took off of McDougal. That's how he figures out that Fitzroy's still around.
But why did it have to be this particular mercenary dude? Right? Like, why wouldn't it be the deputy? I don't know. It just,
this kind of reminded me of No Country for Old Men, where you have these guys who are positioned as being a legitimate adversary, who make like one mistake and immediately are punished, are fatally punished for it, right? So
well, it's funny you mentioned that. Multiple reviewers have called this book McCarthy-esque. So he's a true son of the cult of Cormac.
Wait, did you just say MacArthur Cormac?
No, the cult.
Oh, okay. I was like,
that sounds pretty cool, actually.
That should be a pen name, like Mencius Moldbug Man, MacArthur
Corncob McGillicuddy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's and so I guess it would be like Carson from No Country for Old Men. Yeah, where he's just like
nothing
as confident
wrong.
As anyone else, confident as everyone else, and immediately gets iced.
Yeah, that can make sense.
Well, there's also another aspect. There's another aspect that I'd seen, by the way, where McDougal references like he looks strangely like himself, because he's also a ginger guy with a straggly beard.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Which I don't know. What was that point of that, other than maybe subtle foreshadowing about McDougal's ending?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because remember, there's also, I noticed I read this 1.5 times. Fitzroy references when the beginning scene, he's like, "Oh, that McDougal. I thought he went out like the other guys. I thought he really went the self-immolation route. He references it in one of the early chapters.
How fortunate that we're covering this week.
Yes, dude, I laughed my asses off when I reread that part.
Literally could not have been timed better.
Well, McDougal was the better man, though. He was the better man fighting for a better cause.
So
who was the real man?
So McDougal is essentially squatting in the barn at the Causeway House, and Sarah is still freaking out. And a brief aside about Sarah. So Sarah says she needs the money, and is described by McDougal as being greedy, and is described by the villagers, by the people who live in this town, as being greedy. And she does not make a big deal of, she doesn't mention her own wealth, but there are things that are mentioned throughout the story that you can, put together that she cares about possessions and has valuable possessions. So
true. That's actually a good point.
Specifically, the first note that she isn't just someone who's sort of in a Grey Garden scenario with this house that's too big for her to take care of, is that when it mentions that she puts on some Limmer boots, and Limmer is it's a boot brand, but it's a luxury boot brand. Their minimum entry price for their boots are $500. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and she, they mention her crystal this crystal bowl that they had that the Philippe's cousins broke at the party, and for her bed and breakfast business here, she has cases and cases and cases of Belvedere vodka and various kinds of wines.
Good stuff.
Yeah, she has like top shelf and no shortage of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You think this is hinting at something from before the cult? Her background?
I think it's just. I mean, she is actually affluent, is what I'm saying. Like, and every single time something bad happens, she calls Fitzroy. She's calling the only cop. Which really, if you do need to get something solved, Fitzroy is the person to call. Like, to be fair.
Well, he's kind of incompetent at it. He fucks up the first 2 times.
Where did he fuck up with McDougal?
He sent the assassin.
No, but where did he?
Yeah.
He sent the assassin.
No, but he had to have. What do you mean? He had to have distance.
Why? I mean, yeah, you give him a fucking gun. You just shoot the fucker.
Sure. Yeah. Well.
And the second time, he gets a shit rocked
Cap
by the
is
hobos.
Cap is like a
That's
Fitzroy stan.
I like Fitzroy.
Defending this
I like
guy.
Fitzroy.
Yeah, you see yourself.
I'm a
in
fan
him.
of Fitzroy. I see a fat, paunchy sheriff, and I in the mirror every morning.
Is this your literally me?
No. My literally me character was Adam Rhinespecs in Mixtape, but
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
actually, I wanted to ask you about her. Her morality chart and her as a person, I could not get a good read off of. Right, but because again, the whole third person, the structure. I wanted to get your point on the structure. The prose and the pace was, I don't want to say crooked, but just very choppy. Because action would happen, there'd be 2 lines of dialogue, and no, there will never be any attention dealt with the actions that happened. It's always a 1-line thing.
Yeah, and I mean it.
With severe,
But it's also
one of my hopes was like cutting out some of the. I'm sorry, Kat, but yeah, my hopes was just cutting out some of the, like some of that time and attention could have gone into, like this chase hunting down Dog Boy or some of these other subplots that don't add very much. And it's like I similarly struggled to understand what exactly Sarah was about, because I actually had interpreted the higher quality vodka and stuff. I thought that was just because the house was nicer and like they would have people over. Like I guess I interpreted it more as it was part of as a business.
But even to maintain that house,
she's definitely running like a touring business. Here, yeah.
Yeah, even to maintain that size of house, you need quite a good lucrative, cash flow to maintain that damn thing. And the thing about her is because, like, when she's walking away from yet again, very blasé, walking away from the river with him, like, oh, I want an animal. And then she has this weird stilting, like, oh, Sarah didn't like animals. The beasts, they're very filthy and they defecate everywhere. Like, this very oddly Victorian stiff dialogue comes out.
I think I'm going to have to say that Gabe has you've never talked to a woman. And like,
well, no,
like here's
but she talks
so
very oddly.
Because she doesn't want to hear what this retard wants. Like she is taking care, and like you can see at the end of the book, right? And I mean, we could just jump ahead here, because so the next thing McDougal does, and this is another thing about her characterization, the next thing McDougal does is steal a bunch of her booze, goes and gets all of the bridge men, and basically gets them because he wants to resurrect Elena. Elena had previously lived in this house with him and the rest of the cult. She had died of cancer, just completely wasted away of cancer, and was buried in the basement but the door to get there was blocked by this large piece of granite. Okay? He needed help moving this block of granite, and he was like, I guess it's probably going to take 4 or 5 guys to move this. Hey, I know 4 or 5 guys, and I know what they'll do it for, and it's fucking vodka.
Dude, that scene...
It's very side quest.
That scene was the most... the punishing of the book, actually. Gabe, when they had just like a hobo with like 2 bottles of vodka pouring straight into his mouth at the same time. I had
Big
to
Red.
laugh at that
Big
one.
Red.
Yeah, old Big Red. Tearing through it.
So, but when Sarah returns from whatever she was doing when she gets home and finds all of these guys there, she calls Fitzroy and says, "There are homeless in my house," and which
He's not wrong.
And it's a different font,
no, yeah,
too.
yeah.
The
She
homeless
italicizes homeless, so there was emphasis on there are homeless in my house, which I
love that
fair
so
thing
much.
to be upset about, but the way that it is said is like showing that like Sarah is like an affluent white female. Like that's the.
But she
I don't know if we got the full. I don't know if we got the full
before.
awful. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and she's definitely been through some shit. But the characterization here is that she is kind of like she is ultimately looking out for herself and wants out of this situation and will kind of, she doesn't want to make any sacrifices necessarily.
Well, she will sacrifice to people around her.
She hadn't done that. Who had she done?
Well, remember, okay, so right around this point, when the 5 hobos are here, McDougal has a conversation with her, slightly about their past. And he's like, "Oh, how dare you portray our principles? You turned this into a brothel." And he kind of exposes her as like a fake geek girl because she doesn't really know the theology. She treats him like a normal woman.
Name 5 songs.
Name 5 prophets right now.
Yes,
Sarah.
she's a poser. Name 3 prophets. Exactly. Name 3 prophets. Name 3 celestial beings, bitch. Like she, the way they talk, you have no. It's as if he just turned into a cult leader. It's like she talks to him from a distance. Like she knows him. She's like, "Oh my god, this is my crazy ex-boyfriend," and instead of, "Oh my god, this is my crazy cult leader that I followed for years." Like,
no, she didn't.
Yes,
no, she did. She was one of his wives.
No. It's very clear that Fitzroy literally stopped him from.
Oh, that was it. Was their wedding night. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got that it was a wedding night.
That's how he stole their knife.
Her. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's a virgin.
But there's a little.
But he does.
Yeah,
but he does a little later in the story. But everyone gets a turn with old Sarah.
Old Sarah.
She's literally the cock carousel Sarah, right? Because she's had a boyfriend before our Truesell McDougal kills her ex.
No, wasn't even her
boyfriend
ex.
With
was
Timmy.
not her ex at the time.
It was Douglas something, right? No, it was he thought he was jealous of him, I believe, at one point. He killed because he calls him your ex-boyfriend or your ex-blank, right?
Well, yeah, because he died.
I think McDougal even calls him that. Yeah. It's like, "Oh, your ex, I killed your ex." Right? So she wasn't even a virgin before he had her, right? Which is very un-Christ-like.
So true.
And he has a cooler. It's like this is also very Moan-esque, right? He takes a cooler out and shows her a fucking skeleton decayed hand inside a cooler, and she's like, "Oh my god, you cut him up!" And
that was
then
a different guy. That was
like,
a different guy. You're talking about 2 different guys.
Oh yeah, well yeah, he killed some other second guy.
Yeah, but that was that guy's hand.
Right, it was that guy saying, "Yeah." The point being is her reaction is also oddly very stiff because she just keeps on. They keep on the conversation after that. She's like, "Oh, why are you doing this? You're a monster. You're a dick." And Sarah comes off. I don't know if she actually genuinely believed, because when she gives a slight lore dump to Fitzroy, she says how McDougal took over the cult. The cult was already pre-McDougal. McDougal killed
it was
the
less
guy
weird
and
before
ushered
him.
him.
Like he turned it into like full on. I'm the only rooster. He went full Branch Davidians at that point, right? He's like, everyone has to retain their semen for their own purity. all the women with me as you guys patrol the wilderness, just in case the Nashes or someone else wanders onto the territory.
Yeah, so it was both, because it was like the it was that McDougal took it over, and then Elena died, and then he went fully off the rails.
Yeah.
Right, there's not enough history, because she doesn't act or behave or even seem to have any knowledge. Timmy remembers a lot of the old ways.
My reading of it is that she's almost, it's like when you meet your parents, we haven't seen them for a while or something. Like it's almost like she's like reverting to a younger self a little bit when she meets. That was my interpretation of her being that stiffness you talk about. It's like she's retreating from it emotionally.
Yeah,
Right,
that is how
she
I
just
feel
acts
that.
like a normal woman.
I mean, I
felt like she was more of a normal woman.
I feel
Normal
like
woman.
she was. Every single woman Gabe has interacted with has been fully stiff and retreating from the experience as if they were speaking to a guy who, when they last saw him, attempted to rape them after a forced cult marriage. It's just.
Well, actually, we don't know. We don't know if it was actually rape, right? Because she says, like, oh, he held a beauty pageant and he did measurements. You know, he did a physiognomy check, decided if they could lose some weight or not.
Yeah,
right?
some women like that.
There's actually no reference to anything of a struggle with that. He only references the marriage night, not her. If you notice that, she does not bring up that night. The second participant.
Correct.
Which I don't know. I don't think it's intentional. I don't think he thought of it that deeply, to be honest. Because he talked. What gets her angry is the fact that he banged a younger woman, which is very lifelike for an older woman, right? She gets jealous because he banged a 15-year-old and maybe not killed her. But the banging part was what she got mad at. And she's like, oh, it was so disgusting. All the other women were okay with it, but not me. She was like a normie pick-me, right? Because if she was truly a believer of this religion, she would be more open to it. But she talks like a normie. It's like, oh, all the other women, all the other faithful women were perfectly fine with this, but not me. I'm a normal person. Please pick me, Mr. Fitzroy. Please use your belt on my fucking neck, right? She comes off like a poser in that scene. Like I don't believe these two characters have a past.
I could see it, but it felt, like I said before, I just wish there was more time spent on it, because I was interested in it, but it just flew by so fast that it left these ambiguities where I think it would be cool to just like, I don't know, just to have explored that aspect.
Actually, as a writer, David, do you think a lot of these ambiguities were intentional?
I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know.
I gotta disagree with you guys. Like I do like the staccato rhythm of this book, and I like how the action is like. I mean, I do love maximalist fiction as well, but this is like very aggressively minimalist fiction.
It is.
Right? It is giving you exactly as much as you need to infer the complete series of events that are relevant and nothing more. Right? Like it is like sparse to within an inch of its life. Mm-hmm. Right? And I do appreciate that. Like I like how that is. I like how that was constructed, because I think it requires a lot of care, rather than, doing the whole, like, they walked to the cabinet, they opened the cabinet door, they rested one hand on the countertop, something like that.
Blow by blow.
Yeah. Absolutely not doing any of that shit. It's, I mean, and there are sections where, you infer where, you're inferring that, so this is several hours later and they've transferred to the police department and woken up or something like that.
Right, but with ambiguity, when something's ambiguous, you have to.
Yeah, I don't think there's actually a lot of ambiguity.
Well, the cult's origins,
Well,
stuff like
okay,
that.
but I mean,
everyone's
so,
past.
but in terms of, but I don't think that that's relevant to the narrative.
I think
True,
think
but yeah, you
Sarah's
gotta-
I mean,
least
you
have
want
some
the
meat on
the
there.
deep lore, but like that's not the story.
For me, it's not the deep lore. It's just some of the setup and the character motivation, which I actually. So I agree. I like. Hopefully, I'm not coming off overly harsh. I did like the majority of the book. At the beginning and the end, I felt like the rush really hit me there, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" A few points in both of those parts. The middle, like 70% or so, to me, it was hitting every like just the right amount of notes, and I was pretty much getting it. But I do feel like it was so curt in its style that you like. I don't know. Like I feel like you have a picture of Sarah in your head, but I don't know.
You
how.
don't have that picture.
I don't have that picture. Mine was different. Mine was much more. I don't
David,
know.
what when you imagine an apple, what do you see? I just
I see a black ball.
rotate a shape in your head. No, I see what you mean. Yeah, I imagine Sarah as like an affluent woman who is like pretty PTSD'd about this cult situation and wants to get out of this. I think that she's taking care of Timmy out of a sense of obligation rather than genuine affection.
Yeah.
And
wait, but no, she spoiler, skipping ahead. She like tells McDougal to kill her. Like she begs him to kill her when Timmy dies. So I saw that there was a really genuine relationship there.
maybe
That was the only real emotion she had was at that scene, actually. Did she had any authentic emotional
Yeah, the rest she was
outburst?
just sucking dick like an automaton. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
not
Like, and the way she views men, like with Philippe, she's like, oh, and he's literally repairing her window. She's like, oh, what do I find attractive to him? The body. And she looks at the other side, and it's the Hash family, like putting deer guts. He's like, oh, they're just children. And again, it's also italic when she calls like the people trying to ruin her sale children.
Well, yeah, but
she's
no,
very
but
stuck
that's
up.
because you're mixing up. She's referring to them as the Nash family as just children because, in comparison to McDougal, who is a goddamn force of nature, everything that the Nashes have been doing is like extremely petty harassment, and whereas McDougal will fucking kill everyone she has ever met. So like,
yeah, and their use of violence. Like McDougal has a certain spiritual purpose to his violence, right? While the Hash family, when the rock hits,
actually,
Timmy,
hold on, I completely disagree with that. The Nash family is literally like blood and soiling. Like their entire purpose of violence is ethnos. Like they don't want her. They do not want her to move the cemetery that's on her property, and they don't want her to like sell out the Causeway house and the estate to the coastal locust. Literally, a guy named Locust from Marin County, like he's from the Bay Area. I
love that they call him Locust.
Yeah. So. Their whole thing is ethnos. So they have and McDougal, like, though he does have these like hallucinations of hearing from Elena, he also, like, all of his sermons and everything are really just kind of to secure his own advantages.
The Grunhauerian, like, self-serving lectures.
Yeah.
Do not ruin the good Grunhauer's name by comparing him to fucking McDougal.
I'm just saying they're all both self-serving in their schemes.
Like, can you actually remember anything that was relevant? Like, anytime he bringed up like a religious figure was actually relevant thematically? Like, cause I think it's just a generic, like, I need him to have some gravitas, so I'll have the villain quote the Bible.
I thought it was fine. I mean, I don't recall anyone that was like particularly whatever. Like I said earlier,
I didn't find any particularly dissonant.
Yeah, yeah. No, it wasn't bad. It was just like it was all right. Uh,
Yeah, for me, it grinded on me. I don't know, but every time he quoted the Bible, I just cringed because I just felt like it was very like Reddit atheist, like a preteen trying to write the Joker. He's gonna make some so badass. You shall know thy name is the Lord. Everyone tries to rip off the Samuel L. Jackson scene from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that's not a Bible quote, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but exactly. It sounds like a Bible quote.
Yeah, I just thought that was some hard ass shit to say.
Yeah, it was some hard ass shit to say. Or like, he also makes him quote Shakespeare at one point because he tells Timmy to get thine to a
nursery,
even though as a man,
he paraphrases it, right?
Yeah.
No, he says get thee to a nursery.
He
says nursery. He's paraphrasing.
Yeah, he's okay. Good. In that case, if it's paraphrasing, it's okay. But like, yet again, it's these one-liners. It's a one-linerification. Like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
with
but also,
it's not even
also McDougal is a phony.
Yes, but it would be interesting if at least there's a sense of in for a penny, in for a pound. If he was initially he was a phony, but then he started believing it sincerely. And if you put real effort into him, like being a sincere schizo, I'll sacrifice anyone for my dear Elena. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I think that would be more interesting.
I guess I see what you're saying, but you're also just asking for a different narrative at that point, rather than
I think so. And I think he is genuine in that he believes he's sacred or something. Like, I don't think he has a theology. He doesn't have anything intellectually behind it, but he does genuinely believe he's chosen in some way and all that jazz.
Well, he acknowledges his plot armor, by the way, when he gets shot and the gun blocks it. He literally gives a silent prayer. He's like, "Thank you, Lord."
I do.
Yeah. I think the reason.
He also constantly demands
signs.
Is yeah.
Yes, I think the reason why the middle scenes are so good is that it's mostly action oriented. That's where most of the gunfights and stuff like that. A lot of the scenes are short staccato, and the scenes support the staccato narrative, right? That's where Fitz fights with his brother, chases. It's all about chasing. It's all action oriented. The middle's action. And anytime he has to set up anything plot or personal, it's very crooked. It's very just.
I think you might be onto something. Yeah, I wouldn't phrase. I think the plotting is fine, but I think it's the character. I think because at the beginning and the end, you're like either trying to get to know characters or how well you know a character is being tested to get payoff. And with this writing style, I want to be clear, I'm not asking for a line, but it would be like a 5% adjustment or something like that in terms of like more character. Like, I think it is an awesome tone he hits, and that's why it works in the middle. But I think you may have hit the nail on the head in terms of why the beginning and the end feel off there, Gabe.
Yeah, because it's plot oriented, not action. Because the action scene with yet again, he pops in, he says the one-liner, I don't watch porn, because he's a true cell, right? All you need to know in that scene is that he's a vaguely Christian-esque true cell, and he calls him One Ball Man. He shoots him. He has a cool epic shootout, Max Payne style. Yeah. It's a fun
and all the
scene.
Fitzroy stuff is really
I actually
good
had fun
too.
reading this.
And the DEA agents, which we haven't mentioned, I don't think at all. The DEA agent that shows up, like way back in the middle, and they're investigating Fitzroy, and they're looking for the dude that's the Stone Men are holding. And and also McDougal found the dude in the drawer and just like closed him back in when he didn't know how to help them. He's like, "Where are the guns? Where's the bombs?" He's like, "What?" He just like shuts it. He's like, "Fuck off."
He's like, "Please let me go."
McDougal's
like, "Yeah."
O-ring blown out.
All right. Yeah.
That was a great scene. Yeah, it's like slapstick. Oddly enough, he's very good at the writing equivalent of slapstick comedy, not audible or dialogue-based comedy. That makes sense. Anything that involves character action, he's good at.
Okay.
Or anything, because even the relationship with Fitzroy and his Patrick, right? When they have the little bit of banter, he's like, "Oh, I'm clean. Oh, I saw the bottle underneath the couch. Like, it was for old time's sake." He's like, "Oh, really?" And then they have the little back and forth. When the dialogue is very, very short and leading up to something like a climax, which is, for example, Fitzroy and Patrick, he pins him down. He basically, fists his mouth for drugs, and he puts him in the car. right? The dialogue between that's very snappy. It had a nice natural flow to it because it was short and he had a very clear. I want him to put his hands on Patrick. How do I justify it? Oh, Patrick actually has drugs, and so they have a little brother banter, and then I have him put his hands on him, right? So dialogue that has a direct linkage to direct action is good. Anything that involves like kind of have a pathos or anything that kind of revolves chewing on it emotionally or character-wise
I think you're being too harsh on it. I think that a lot of the dialogue was good, but it just wasn't enough of it like dawdling enough between. Dawdling is like a negative connotation, but there wasn't enough of it just. It was always like they're talking like rushing between things, and it just. I don't know. It never got to like the character level because they're just relaying key information just in time so the next punch hitting makes sense, and that works so well in the huge middle chunk where it's our three main protagonists are mostly doing their own thing, and we're seeing them power through these minor characters or having weird adventures. But then when the three come back together, it's like I don't know. They just that character development hadn't really happened enough to make it click.
I agree with you because obviously there's supposed to be a tension between Fitzroy and McDougal, right? Because he finds a knife. He's like, McDougal's here, right? And the thing is, Fitzroy's a very strong character. And he's very funny, right? And a lot of times, especially with his mom, right? And then you got McDougal, who again the biker scene and also the 5 hobo people are great, right? And so you think mixing these two characters like peanut butter and jelly. Right, but they don't interact enough, and those interactions aren't strong enough to really hit a point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm conscious of time. Should we power through? Should we punch through the last?
So we punch through the eye socket.
The last eye socket. All right. So the homeless armies arrive. They're all chugging. What is it? Not Popov. I keep wanting to say Popov.
Well, at that point, they're drinking Belvedere.
Okay. You're right. Yeah, they upgrade. Oh, Belvedere. So much better. And
better than Cossack. Better than Cossack.
Dude, I love that line. It was so good.
Very good goon banter in that scene. All the goons had great banter in that
Fitzroy
scene.
comes and he just beats the shit out of these hobos. That was another good one. It was like...
he pistol whips Big Red's eye out. Yeah.
And then he feels
Big Red picks up a fight. Big Red actually does.
He sure does. He sure does, but he sure fucking loses. Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Is he a cop?" No, he's not a cop. He's an
asshole like us.
Cops are.
As they're wrestling on the floor. Yeah. I like that scene.
That was great. It was a good scene.
And Fitzroy actually arrests McDougal. He sends him back to jail. Unfortunately for him, just like a good Oblivion character, he's about to just lockpick his way out in 2 seconds.
Right.
With Fitzroy's brother, they share a cell.
And he tells him to.
Well, because this is like this sheriff's department is like literally the sheriff's department from Mayberry, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's one cell. It's like the one cell that you're in if you're being held in the sheriff's department.
A cop desk across the hallway, pretty much.
Yeah,
and that's the office.
Exactly. It's it's almost like they ought to be sleeping. The deputy ought to be sleeping with like a big loop of keys.
Yeah. But I loved all the rural notes they made about there's the quarry and some other. I don't know. There was a lot of really great detailed touches about what the county was like. It was kind of peppered throughout the whole story, and the size of the police office being one of those was well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the smell scenes are good. Almost anything sensory with the woods was very well done.
Okay, Fitzroy breaks out.
He finds McDougal searches, Patrick Fitzroy, the junkie brother of the sheriff, searches him, finds this dude's concealed like syringe in the bottom of his shoe, and like bends the needle and shoves it under the skin of his own hand. So McDougal puts this dirty AIDS needle underneath the skin of his own hand. Shouts for the basically convinces Patrick that he's having like these severe physical symptoms. Like he just shouts at him like, "You're hot, you're hot, you're cold, you're cold." Like he hypnotizes this guy.
Yeah, he uses his psychic Oregon energy to gaslight him into physically being
good old
like,
Oregon energy. I've been to Portland. It's pretty fun. But yeah, so so the deputy comes over, handcuffs him through the bars. He immediately picks the lock using this, he presses the syringe out of his skin and picks the lock, goes around and knocks out the deputy and leaves.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go for an anime thing there. I thought he was going to use a syringe to kill the deputy.
I did too, actually. I was shocked, actually, how merciful he was. They didn't fucking butcher the dude.
Yeah.
Not a McDougal thing to do, but I guess he was feeling nice.
Well, he has a respect. I think due to his religious character, he has a respect for a certain sense of order. Because remember when he was speeding, remember when he was speeding, right? The cop was aggressive. The female cop was trying to give him a speeding ticket,
and
right?
he was
holding a gun.
He was gonna shoot her. He was going to shoot her.
A female police officer pulls you over. I'm just saying, you got to be ready to defend yourself. Like, let's be honest, gentlemen.
Well, we know what happens, but no, because he tries to do the charisma check, right? He wants to avoid violence if he can. He tries the charisma check. But he also
if he
fails
shoots a cop on the street, he's gonna get chased. He wasn't being chased at that point.
He was trying to talk her out of it.
That happened earlier.
I can't remember the lie, but he was saying something. Oh, I was it's an emergency or something.
Oh,
like
I'm
that
taking this
her.
on a test drive. And he
that's what it was.
Guy.
Yeah, he's like, you know how it is. Like, I don't have a license on me. He just, how old Jim is. And then she got the call from Fitzroy or someone else that she had to go to deal with something.
Yeah, it was Fitz. It was Fitz. Mm-hmm. And he drives away. Yeah, but he always tries to charisma check before he harms an officer.
Yeah, I still think you're probably giving him a little too much credit for that because he was definitely going to blast her right in the face.
Yeah. Well, if she asks one more question.
But only as a last resort. Only when it was a self-defense situation.
Right. Yeah.
She was escalating for a self-defense situation.
What happens next? Because it turns into a big battle, but there's a step before that, right? Before the causeway.
Oh, Fitzroy gets his boys up, right? Doesn't he gather the boys?
The stone men. Like he calls them the stone men.
Yeah. The stone men call themselves in. They call him, and he explained. We already went over that.
Yeah, yeah, and they're referred to as like the remnants of the stone men, I think, too.
It was all the ones who were out of town at the time.
Yeah, because everyone else is dead.
Viva on vacation.
Chilling in Quebec.
Oh yeah, and he also sends the bounty hunter Lefebvre. He sends Brett Favre, and to do the job, which does not go well for him.
Fucks up completely. There's a huge battle. There's a ton of shit happens. There's a battle, and Timur. Timur is told to kill. What's his name? The mercenary dude.
Timmy is told to kill Lefebvre.
Thank you.
Lefebvre.
And he just pushes out like a complete like Zeta male, like not worthy to breed incel moment.
Yeah,
he completely fails, but at least he has the good grace to run off and kill himself.
Yeah.
So His Majesty.
So McDougal
doesn't deal with it.
McDougal orders him to do it. He doesn't do it. Then McDougal is like, "All right, we'll go to your room and open the window and look out for someone. And if you see Fitzroy coming, don't hesitate to shoot him." And Timmy immediately runs to the old Jack Shack.
Yeah.
He goes to the Orgooner accumulator and becomes an hero. It's just welp, that's it. Hangs up the phone and
Dude, there was such a comedic element to that. That was Monesque right there, because McDougal goes in there and he explains in a very blasé way, like, oh, there's a bits of brains, there's a bit of skull, and so he's looking at him. He's like, shit. And McDougal has this great scene. He's like, wait a minute, I can fix this. I'm the Messiah. So he starts praying, and he puts his hand on not on his head. That would be Kino. No, he puts his hand on his chest. And he's like, oh, I'm feeling the energy. He closes his eyes. I'm feeling lighter. I never felt this way before. I never felt this in Chicago. Oh my God, I'm feeling the energy go through me. He opens his eyes, and it's just a stinking half.
It was just dead. Yeah,
he's like the Emperor in 40K. He's like dead but undead, and he's just He's powered by the 1,000 Orgone cells.
Yeah, should have left him in the box. He would have lived forever.
Dude, this would have been a different novel if that worked. It was actually a supernatural.
Yeah,
game. That would have.
It immediately,
it
just immediately shifts gears right there.
No, it's like end of Halloween when Michael Myers, when he looks outside the window, he's no longer there.
Then so the exact order of events is fuzzy in my head. But the battle rages on, and at
that point the stone men have already been all killed. R.I.P. Spoonie. And essentially, let's see, they already got killed. One of the deputies already got killed. Fitzroy got wounded. And then...
Oh, Philip gets crippled, remember? Because he blows up the hotel.
And and also before that, McDougal had blown up the east wing of the Causeway House while Philippe and his cousins were working on it. So Philippe has both of his legs crushed.
Sucks to suck.
So yeah,
and Sarah learns that Timmy dies, and she's just like.
So Sarah was at the hospital with. No, was she at the hospital with Philippe?
You're right. Yeah, she comes back, and McDougal's like, "Hey, you gotta come see this." The most dickish way possible. He's like, "Hey, you come into the Orgone chamber," and she sees Timmy's.
It's not like that. She's already there at that point. She was like waiting in the car. She tells McDougal to kill her. She breaks down when she sees Timmy's body. And then he takes her upstairs and consummates their marriage. That's what happens.
Oh, baby.
Right.
When
Base Dave.
Hold on one second. Let me find the passage.
Yeah, she actually gets blackmailed into sucking dick like so many times.
Yeah, and I guess we also gloss that. Yeah, I mean it is very hard to like tell this in perfect sequence, just because there are so many interconnected threads of these stories that there's not really like a 3-act structure in this narrative.
Yeah.
So, hold on.
Yeah, Fitzroy's not a good.
Slightly
better.
Fitzroy
than
basically is like, well, I can't just shoot McDougal because there were all these witnesses here, and this is back before he arrests him. But you're gonna have to pay me to take care of him. And she's like, well, how will I do that? And he like takes his belt off, and he's like, so.
Is Philippe here? I think he says something like that.
Another mark against your theory, though, Cap, that she's a wealthy woman. She's sucking dick, I'm sure Fitz would have accepted something else.
Not very ladylike. Not very ladylike.
No, sir.
So there is a section when Philippe is brought to the hospital where Sarah is there, and there are a bunch of people getting brought in at the same time, and one of them is Rockford, the guy who we met in the second chapter, who was the investment analyst working for Isaac Locust. And he is dead as hell in from a helicopter crash. And that is touched upon again several chapters later, after all of the action that we just described, where Deputy Thompson, the surviving non Fitzroy cop, and Hank Nash, one of the towny vandals who was harassing Sarah, are talking about the helicopter crash. And it seems like there was actually some foul play in the helicopter crash. That a helicopter crash that Deputy Thompson covered up. Are you following?
Yeah, no, we're following. I thought you were about to do a line read.
No. No, it's just so you do learn a little about the character of Thompson and Cherubini, where Cherubini, Thompson does not care, just wants to do the job. Basically, wants to do the job exactly the way that Fitzroy does, and Cherubini wants to not be a crooked cop. But in the shootout with McDougal, Cherubini gets fucking killed, and Thompson was smart enough to put on a vest. So she lives. Fitzroy goes to jail because everything is uncovered following the injury and the interrogation of Drawer Boy. Mm-hmm. So Thompson is the crooked sheriff now. Hank Nash seems shell shocked to hear about the helicopter crash, and Thompson says that Locust and the helicopter pilot took the blame, so there's nothing to worry about. And Hank Nash says, "Ooh. So is Sarah von Brammel moving that graveyard?" So, with the answer of course being no. So,
right.
So there was the whole purchase of Loon Hill and the Causeway House and the whole estate and stuff was basically nixed through that helicopter crash. So, and that was told completely in the absolute most minimal way, right? So I found that to be an interesting touch in the story, that it was done in such a aggressively minimalistic way.
Well, when it has such big ramifications, when it's a blink and miss thing like that, well, actually, because if it's set up properly, because it does make sense. I'll allow it. I do think, actually, I will concede that's actually an interesting, little a little secret hidden side plot. Actually, I'll concede to that.
Okay, and moving along, Fitzroy escapes from hospital, goes to visit his mother, shoots his fucking brother in the back.
Well, yeah, because his brother broke out of prison right after McDougal broke into his mom's house, has been hitting her, has been hitting this old woman, and
victim on the war on drugs.
Yes, another victim of the war on drugs.
And is this the heroin part? I think this, or is that earlier? He gives his mom heroin.
No, he gave her heroin earlier.
It wasn't even an emergency then. It was just shut up, you old
No, she was
broad.
like, "Oh, I'm in pain. I'm in pain." It's like, "Your other son took it." She's like, "I'm in pain, damn it." She's like, "Okay, fine. Shut up, you bitch."
Have a little
heroin.
right
you will go to bed. I guarantee it. Yeah.
You'll feel just like me.
Fitzroy then tries to drive away. DEA is hot on his trail. Car chase ensues. crash, and
his fate is left ambiguous.
yeah, like you don't see what happens to him.
No. So his wounds had opened up. There wasn't a crash. He did a controlled, like basically a power slide and stopped. Got out of the car. His wounds had opened up again. He's running away. The police who were chasing him had paramedics with them.
Yeah, saying we have blood.
Yeah, we have units of
seven.
blood, and he's like trying to run away. Feels like he catches a second wind and immediately passes out. But they're right behind him, so he.
You think he lives?
My interpretation of this is that Fitzroy ran until he couldn't, and he goes to jail. Right.
Yeah, that's probably most likely.
Yeah.
Well, because remember, it says he lands face first into the mud. I think that's the very last line involving Fitzroy.
Yeah, so either dead or in prison.
Yeah.
Probably in prison if they had the blood right there, because they do say that several times. And then we get our final outro and it's kind of a sad, dark ending. Sarah lives, and she's...
Oh, wait, you're not... How about McDougal's ending?
We really can't miss this.
So earlier, yeah.
Dude, it's one of the best parts of the book. It's final boss fight.
So there was this whole So essentially, McDougal is left is last man standing at the house, and he has been Sarah escapes from him. By slashing his face, and he's taken a bullet to the shoulder at this point, and he's got another
and into a palm.
And his hand is mangled from another shot. So he is, there's a bunch of wounded around. He's the last person who's able to do anything, and he realizes that he is completely alone. He's a shepherd without a flock. And he walks out to where he was going to. He had planned on burning the Orgooner accumulator because he considered it a satanic device. So it had already been dosed with gasoline when Timmy climbed in and redacted himself. So and chose Canadian healthcare, and so. McDougal basically comes to the belief that what God wants isn't him to sacrifice others, but to sacrifice himself. And so he takes the gas can and dumps it on his head and, shouts, "Free Palestine! Free Palestine!" And so he takes the way of the flame, and immolates himself. Yes, and isn't this a wonderful week?
It turns out he was a prophet of Allah this entire time.
Praise be unto him. He was a prophet. Praise be unto him.
Asu Allah Wakum.
Yeah, that's not how that's pronounced.
It's close enough. It was close enough.
Okay. Anyway,
he's dead.
So no one can take down McDougal but McDougal. So he burns himself. He burns himself to death.
Yep, goes on his own terms.
And that was another great action scene though, because one of the deputies shoots him in the hand, and he's bleeding, he's tired, and then the gun jams. And McDougal has a good one-liner. He's like, "Praise the Lord," and it pops him and kills him. And then he has Sarah scene. They wrestle and fight. He describes part of his face is literally dangling.
Yeah, because
she
jabs him in the face with a broken wine bottle.
Yeah, it's you see this epic scene in your head. He's like, you see him. He's bleeding. His hand is fucked up. Half of his cheek is fallen off. It's very final boss fight tier, and you finally see him emulate himself because he's the burning candle, right? He calls himself the burning candle, I believe.
He calls himself the first candle. Yeah.
And then finally,
first light.
Beatrice, the first light. He's like, she's like, you know what? You disappointed me. Kill yourself. Very ultimate female hypergamy moment. He couldn't match up. He couldn't even get to her damn tomb.
Sorry.
Lamp number 1.
Yeah.
Well, this lamp was not very fuel efficient. So he kills himself via the flames. And I don't know, do you think that's a worthy ending to him? Because there's no catharsis with him and his ex-wife other than her spirit pseudo.
She's dead. I mean, what else can she do besides be his vision? And then he's kind of, I mean, he's probably going to die anyway from all these injuries. So I think it's the natural way out.
Because I don't think he even got to her tomb, if I recall correctly. Did he actually interact with her body? No, he never did. I don't think so.
No, he never got to Elena's body. No.
That was a missed opportunity, I think.
I think maybe Fitzroy hadn't shown up,
Right.
He might have had an opportunity to.
Dude, he cockblocks his wife in life, and Fitzroy cockblocks him in death, too.
Yeah. To think about that connection, he's a lot of bridal interruptions.
Well, he did. He did end up
is a professional cockblocker.
I mean, he did rape Sarah in this. Like,
well, eventually, he finally got around to it, but took some doing. Okay, that's Rip McDongle. And then the final chapter is Sarah goes off to live by the sea with Philippe. He's got robot legs. Another
Moan core
decision, which I respect. I really liked. And she asked him if
maybe this is a prequel. Maybe this is a prequel to the Punishing.
Yeah, this is before the flattening.
Well,
or
technically, anything could be a prequel to the Punishing, since it takes place, or most things could be a prequel to the Punishing because it takes place 400 years in the future.
No, remember we don't see all members.
Optimistic, considering how long he thought it would take.
Well, no, remember, there was multiple members, and Sarah says they fled. Maybe one of the members was a young Thomas Bailey.
My God.
Dun, dun.
Yep. So,
we're expanding the Punishing universe.
Ultimately, Sarah and Philippe end up moving to Gaspard, a small town in Quebec, and they are going to have a child. And Sarah basically
she's going to have a child. Let's be honest. You don't know.
Right, fair enough. Her and Fitz. So essentially, she decides that she's just going to be satisfied.
Yeah, beta bucks. She's over 30 now. Time to settle down.
Yeah, she hits the wall.
I was about to ask. You, what's her age? Because she's clearly an older woman at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like she was in her 20s, and McDougal was in prison for 10 years. So she's about 30, I would say.
Yeah, 30 or a little older.
Hey, that's the last chapter outside Gone. That's the last egg out of her womb. Dude, she got out just in time.
It's a nice end, though. I liked it. And the last line, she no longer wanted to be happy. It was a good life. So, sort of to your point, Cap, she sort of settled down in a not even in a cynical way, like I was joking about.
Right.
No, because Philippe is the ultimate settler. Because that meme about the guy who has his bike stolen. He's like, well, it's made someone happy, so the overall happiness meter goes up. That's Philippe.
It is not Philippe.
That's totally Philippe. He gets his legs crushed. He knows he's probably raising another man's child.
It seems like that's probably not what he's doing.
I mean, he knows she's pregnant. She says, "Oh, I vomited again tonight." She basically tells him that she's pregnant.
But it doesn't mean that. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, I suppose that it could be his McDougal's, or I don't know, maybe Fitzroy's. But
because Philippe, she only has, because look at the recent men she has fucked. The most recent man she has fucked is McDongle, right? Is McDongle. She got McDongle by McDougal.
Yeah, Fitzroy seems like a pull-out king to me, so I don't think it's his.
It was probably, when he took out the belt, I think it was oral. I think he throat fucked her.
Yeah. I think to quote Gio, friend of the show, he just glazed her.
He just
glazed her.
You literally cut
glazed
out.
her on
glazed
on
him.
the show today. He went on like a long rant about people using the word glazing for sex.
Definitely,
you got
definitely
glazed.
Missed the live broadcast, but we'll listen to the to the recording.
Yeah, and that's the end. That's God is a Killer. And there are 3.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Gabe. Go ahead. You had closing thought on it.
No. I was about to say that it's a very interesting ending, to say the least. Because remember that when it's one of the few times we have a sense of her interior life of any character, other than pseudo McDongle, is she no longer wanted a happy life. She was just satisfied. And there's also an odd scene. Philippe's father has officially died. Mm-hmm. She again, very staccato, very minimalist, like Cap says. It finally brings over the death of one father and the creation of another. I guess that's a scene.
Yep.
Because that very chapter, it brings up Philippe's father has died, officially has died.
And it was referred to earlier that his father was in poor health, and Philippe was coming back and forth from Quebec to New Hampshire to work on the Causeway House. So,
right, and Philippe says that his dad was kind of a dick and pseudo-abusive, and Sarah's like, "Oh, how did I make you feel?" And he has the same philosophy as he does when he has his cuck legs. He kind of just says, shit happens. That's life.
Yeah.
so his character arc is a flat circle, except said the cuck chair, he has the cuck legs.
I love you, Gabe.
Gabe will never touch a boob. My God.
I have suckled several. Thank you very much.
Do you guys want to talk about really briefly? I guess I'll just mention that there are 3 flash fictions at the end. I don't think we're going to go into them in the same depth. But yeah, they're pretty good. Similar. They were stylistically similar, just different stories. With different characters.
Palm Sunday is a story about where organized crime overlaps with exorcism.
Molting is the second one. That is about a social services worker that kind of has like a split personality with his maybe real brother, maybe not real brother, and murders like an abusive parent.
And Blasting Cruise is about
I love Blasting Cruise.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because all of these are like, underworld crime stories, all of
super
them.
Super gritty, nasty feeling.
And Blasting Cruise is basically like, is basically about steroids and armed robbery, basically.
Yeah,
great combination.
It reminded me of, you remember the old MDE sketch of where Charles like trips and like falls through a window, and he's like, "I'm a great gambler, but a bad father." That is Blasting Cruise. It's just this guy. It's like a 2-3 page story of just this guy just blowing the fuck out.
you just imagine like being so like a full body pump so bad that like your fucking arms look like the back of a leaf, just gritting your teeth and like holding a steering wheel as hard as humanly possible. It's like Rich Piana's Calmest Day is what Blasting Cruise is like.
Yeah.
Piba, praise be unto him.
To the super mutant. Yeah.
Praise be unto Rich Piana.
But yeah, that's it. I mean, overall, I would just say I very much enjoyed the book. I guess I had a few criticisms on structure, and we were joking around a lot, but overall, I thought it was very well written. Just I guess just I had some issues with some of that lack of character development and the downside of that like sparse, however you want to phrase it, of a writing style.
There is
definitely
a trade-off. Yeah, there's definitely a trade-off there. But I mean, yeah, it's I liked it. I mean, it's certainly a change of pace from the other things that we've read.
There was no vulnerable. Actually, there was one vulnerable young man in this book, and he fucking killed himself. So that was quite the change.
That sensitive young man.
The sensitive young martyr. Peak sensitive young. I mean, I enjoyed it as well. My recommendation would be actually to go even more staccato, cut out even more filler. Right, his best grips are the action. Like that's Fitzroy, I think, is going to be a main character again. He has a very main character energy to him. And so, like, have him break out of prison, have him actually secretly escape, have him be alive, whatever, right? Because he sets up a lot of things with the Locust organization that's still going on. Even though his representative dies, Isaac Locust still exists. Yep. He still has ties to the underworld. Fitzroy's life actually didn't stop. All his organizations around him are still going. So I would love just to embrace the Tom Clancy. Go full action pulp, go full action adventure, right? Because with the staccato thing he tries to do, I mean, I don't mind staccato, right? Because Hemingway did it masterfully. Like a clean, well-lit place. It's two waiters and an old man. We have no idea what the old man's background is, but you have so much just based on how the waiters treat him, how he treats the waiters, and the waiters' insights onto the man himself. Which is he puts so much in so little, right? By reference, the meat, you don't get to taste the meat, but you get to smell the meat. That's what a pure minimalist style is. It's
food metaphor.
It's
damn.
No. It's not technically a food metaphor, right? I just said you don't get to taste the meat, right? It's an anti-food metaphor, right? Consumption.
Wait a minute.
It's a scent metaphor.
Are you trying to trick me again, Scooby? I don't know about this.
You better not be.
I'm telling you, it technically is an anti-food metaphor. It's a postmodern.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my
I think
god.
the starvation
Food is
metaphor is
consumed
still
in
a
the
food metaphor because the whole point of it is you want the food or you want to smell it. I thought you were going to go for another statue move there. That was exactly how you set up your statue kissing line. It was like, you just get to sniff it. You don't get to lick it. You just get to. I was ready for that.
Marbles don't have a sense of smell. You don't when you get real up close to a marble. You don't really smell.
You know.
It's all in the lips. It's all in the lips.
Okay, are we good?
I'm
good.
Damn fine.
Okay, thank goodness. Okay, thank you everyone for listening. Please, for the love of God, rate and review us on Spotify, iTunes, or anything else you can find us on. We have stuff on there. Like and subscribe if you listened. We do this stuff.
And don't forget to soup the
Substack.
Yeah.
The Substack's got some stuff going on, actually. I have a guest post from Remember Summer Days coming up pretty soon on McDonald's and Kitsch. So
lovely.
Yeah, that's coming up. All right,
so
that's it. Yep, calling it.
And don't forget the upcoming Improvidence by yours truly, Dave.
Yeah, we will not be covering it on this channel for reasons, so we'll just tell you to go buy it.
How sad would it be if I just made a video by myself?
You just made it about yourself. We'll make one without you. It won't be edited, obviously, because David does all of our editing. But Gabe and I will just make one dunking on it, which is going to be extra awkward because we gave you blurbs for it.
Just spread eagle me. Get maybe Mark Marlowe would be willing to co-host instead. And
well, Dave, if you click on the link and send us $100, we will give you Improvidence a good review.
We can arrange that. But yeah, please do check it out. I'll probably put an ad in the video. No, I won't cry if you don't. But if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into that kind of genre, check it out.
What genre is that, David?
It's post apocalyptic, just like your heckin' Fallouts, but also it's written in Gene Wolfe, Cormac McCarthy. Who else is hot right now?
Oh God! You're just gonna name all the authors.
Faulconerian.
Yeah, Faulknerian.
Faulkner,
You know,
technically
got a
is
little
the South.
Hemingway, spirit of Hemingway. You know.
Hey guys, you like Joseph Conrad? I hear you like Joseph Conrad.
Oh yeah, it was totally Heart of Darkness core, man. With his savages.
Ernst Younger. Yeah, no, it's exactly like Stephen King. When I was reading it personally, I was getting a lot of J.K. Rowling vibes. I think you're going to be a billionaire, David.
Yeah, thank you.
I got a bit of taste of Sanderson.
The Brandy
There was a
Sandy.
scent of Sanderson.
You could tell because he's a hard worker, just like you, David.
I'm a
very hard
soldier.
worker.
Oh really? I thought you could tell because of the polygamy.
I could tell because of the wholesome Mormon work ethic. Yeah,
So true.
And the Mormon
yeah.
polygamy.
Well, I mean, you can just tell when someone has a high TFR from their
say.
writing.
Wife guy myself. My wife did read it, and she wasn't put off. So that's as high a praise as I can ask for.
It is trad wife approved. It's certified trad
Yeah,
wife approved.
there were some parts I was worried she'd take the wrong way, but it worked out.
Too bad it wasn't released in time for Valentine's Day. But just remember, for the trad wife in your trad life, buy a copy of David Harrod's Improvidence. We promise that there are only the most tasteful handjob scenes.
It's not technically a food metaphor, right? I just said you don't get to taste the meat, right? It's an anti-food metaphor.